Everything working this week?
Yeah, I'm good.
I know last week we had some issues.
Yeah, it should be good right now.
All right, cool.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Huge show today. All kind of spicy stuff going on in the real estate world we'll talk about this week. All kind of mixture, really, of good news, bad news. We had some great news. Interest rates just hit a 3-month low after hitting a 23-plus year high. So we're seeing like a giant flip-flop, which is crazy. We have the brand new numbers in right off, hot off the press from last month, and they were way better than expected in terms of percentage. Are still declining a little bit. We've seen a very interesting past couple of weeks where we almost had a dead stop. Rates have gotten higher. New pending deals are slowing down, but then we saw rates go back down. They've kind of jumped back up a little bit. We'll talk about that, and that's just in the last couple of days. So we'll talk about all the kind of crazy stuff we have going on. We'll dig into those brand new numbers from last month. They're very interesting, right? We're seeing significant decline. Look at the last 12 months. Look at a 25% decline in sales. Price is still doing pretty well, though. A nice jump in terms of average sale price last month, surprisingly up double digits. We'll talk about that overall. Some national news out, which we're seeing locally too as well. Pending sales dropped to the lowest since they started tracking them in 2001, even worse than the financial crisis. And so we're seeing some different back and forth right now. We're seeing some macro data, right? Some micro data. We'll talk about what's happening here locally. But the good thing about us is like we said many, many times before on the show, is that we're very well insulated compared to a lot of areas out there. So we'll talk about that as well. And also, we had something last week's show, just did not get the chance to talk about why it's still a good time to sell your house before the new year. And a lot of great reasons why. And we'll see that. We'll talk about that on today's show. Again, as we always do, some amazing, amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it, doubling down, as many agents have pulled their foot off the pedal for the holidays, right? Many agents just kind of take between Thanksgiving and Christmas off. We double down. We always do this. It allows us to build massive momentum for 2024. Also, as a lot of agents aren't working, we're there to scoop that up and help clients out throughout the holidays as well, and talk about that. We also have a real estate scholarship. We're looking to ramp up our team into 2024 as we continue to capture market share. The same thing from an ad spend. We haven't dropped one single dollar on ad spend. You still see us everywhere: radio, TV, billboards, all over Google, massive amounts of money online. We've actually increased our spend while everyone else is pulling back, and that's part of our strategy. So we'll talk about that as well. And just overall, just kind of get some great data, great information to help you do the same thing that we've been doing here for 14 plus years. Is just we have one goal: just give you data, keep you updated to help you make better decisions, which is for most people their largest asset, which is real estate, right? Or one of the largest assets you have, which is real estate. And so we'll give you the local data, give you the national data, and just help keep you updated. If you ever want to come back and watch these shows again or listen to them, we do put them in a podcast. You can search online through your podcast provider. But also, it's much easier. Go to YouTube, just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You can follow me on Facebook at Blake Sloan. You can follow Sloan Realty Group on Facebook. We stream both those there, as well as Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff. Just search that. Share it with anybody else. That's one thing we do ask, is just hope to provide value, keep you updated. Don't we try to sell anything, right? We just want to give you information. If you have anyone you come across that's thinking about buying or selling, just do me a favor and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake, because they deserve to have some type of expert when they're dealing with their largest asset. We'll talk about that today. Absolutely. And that's the whole reason why we do the show, and the DNA behind the show, and really the why and the calls behind the show, because everyone makes this mistake over and over and over and over. And I talk about this every week, and I made a promise that I'm talking about it every week, because if I want anybody to just get anything out of the show, it's this, is that the biggest mistake that anyone makes as a consumer when it comes to real estate comes down to the agent they choose. They think that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, any financial advisor, any waiter or waitress, right? They're always different. And because the reason it's different, it comes down to people. The only problem with that is when you're talking about real estate, you're talking much bigger stakes and much longer sales cycles. And so there's a lot more things that can get screwed up, much more so than just having a dinner, right? You're in a restaurant, had a great experience, go back to the same restaurant, have a terrible experience because you have a different waiter, different waitress, right? That just comes down to a lot of times that person and how they operate in a service-based business. You look at real estate, it's a service-based business. If I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, I don't really want a friendly attorney who's a friend of a friend of the family, right? I want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law to help defend me in the court of law, to give me a competitive advantage so I can get the outcome I deserve and the outcome I want. You should demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with your largest assets, which is real estate, investment properties, whatever it may be, that you have. And so it's the same thing with the doctor, right? If I have something that is not a great diagnosis, I want the absolute best. I don't want just the one that was referred to me here locally who maybe not had treated something similar. I want the absolute best, the specialist in that, who's going to help me get that advantage I need to get to that process. And so I just want to reiterate that, because here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose. We'll talk about that in one of the success stories today. Is somebody, they about lost out in building their new home because they went with an average agent. Someone had just referred them to them, and their house, they were building a house. So they left their house, was living in their RV while they were building the house. They got started on it, got through the process, but they didn't sell their property for 6 months. It sat there for 6 months, very, very little showings, no offers. And they almost lost out on being able to build their property because the agent wasn't executing. And thankfully, they heard about us on the radio, called us. We identified the problem immediately. It was the marketing, how it was being marketed, fixed that, had it under contract within a week or two. And so it's one of those things that, thank goodness, they were able to do so. But it comes down to how the actual details execute, because most people don't realize when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. And basically the way those are handled, what makes or breaks the success on the back. And if each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, your property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, that costs your hard-earned equity. What happens in many cases, the property doesn't sell. What used to happen when the market was super hot in a frenzy, let's say a year, 12, 14 months ago, is they would sell it. They think they did good, but they didn't even realize they left $40,000 on the table. And I saw that literally every single week. And so what's happening now is you can't just put some cell phone photos online and hope that it sells. You have to actually have someone who's good at marketing, who understands marketing, who differentiates your property, because there's a lot less buyers and a lot more houses for sale. And so you have an increased supply, decreased demand. It's going to be more competition, which is why the agent you choose matters even more than ever, which I like that market. I like this type of market because now the agent quality actually matters, right? We had a bunch of what we call pretenders in the business who pretend to do stuff, pretend to be an agent. They're on Instagram, whatever, pretend to be an agent, not actually selling anything. And people would actually list their house with them and make massive mistakes and cost them their hard-earned equity, because you deserve to have an expert who can really help you navigate the nuances of all those 118 different variables, where most agents, they just do those 3 P's we talk about. Number one, they promise the world to get the listing. They say anything and everything they think that you need to hear to list with them. And the second thing they do is they just put it to MLS, the multiple listing service. And 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're down the street trying to get your neighbor's listing because they're just trying to survive, because that's just how, unfortunately, the business works. Where even when I was in the business before, I was at a big box store, it was me and 200 agents. I didn't care about them. They didn't care about me. It was very dog eat dog. There was no alignment within the organization. So what happened was everyone just really kind of against everybody else. They would actually get mad when I got a listing. They wouldn't help me sell it. They were even mad, so they wouldn't show it. So you didn't have that organization. And so what I said is, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And there's got to be a way to have an organization that's in alignment where everyone's working together. I had so many horror stories that the 2 big box places I was at before, they would literally be stealing my leads because I was on the phone and I repeated the phone number. Somebody got that phone number and called them, which is within a couple of minutes, who was sitting on the other side of the cubicle for me. And I'll never forget that. And so I was like, man, we got to be able to build something where the entire team's in alignment. Everyone's kind of with each other. And so that's why I created this hybrid model, which is an independent brokerage, but we operate strictly as a team, meaning that we have a team of specialists where every single person is a specialist in what they do. We have inside sales, we have outside sales, we have basically buyer specialists, listing specialists, closing coordinators, listing coordinators. We have a video person, a photographer person, a graphic design person. And so in that scenario, we have a team of specialists who specialize in what they do. And what we did was we created a system called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that'll sell homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And so what we did was we said, what has to happen in the exact order every single time to give our client a competitive advantage? And so we said, what are all the variables? Most agents don't even know what they are. They're just getting the squeaky wheel, getting what ball falls off the table. Right, we're here making sure that we have everything lined up, and we have two things that back it up. We have a team of people, a team of specialists who are very good at what they do, who are high quality people, high quality individuals. Then we also have massive amounts of technology that back that up. And so we have to know what has to happen in the right order with accountability through that technology so that everything happens the same way every single time. And what we do there is stack the dominoes. And so we know if I can create a small piece of leverage at point 1 and a small piece of leverage at point 2, and a small piece of leverage at point 3, and do that all the way through all 118 different variables, what that does is those small gaps add up and create a massive gap and a massive competitive advantage for our client at the end. And that's exactly what the Guaranteed Sold System does. And that's how properties sell faster and they sell for more money. And the reality is our business model and that design system allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And so I get the question all the time, like, what makes you different? We get you more exposure. We have, thousands, tens of thousands of buyers. We'll talk about that in a few minutes that are looking to buy properties here. And then we have a sales team who specializes in matching up buyers and sellers. We have technology that'll take buyers' previous search patterns and it'll score them and match them up to your listing. And so it allows us to do what we're actually supposed to do, which is sell the property with enthusiasm, sell the property with energy, and have people who can match those up. And so if you want to know more how that works, you owe it to at least investigate. If you've been thinking about selling, you had a bad experience somewhere else, like reach out and just investigate. Just take a look at it, and you'll see it's massively different than anything else you've ever seen before in terms of that. The second thing, right, is it's a lot very difficult on the buyer side right now. There's a very tricky market. Interest rates are high. Inventory is still historically very low, and so it's very difficult for buyers to navigate that right now. We have this thing I designed called the Guaranteed Sold System. Sorry, the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System, and it gets you property access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection, and it gives you the same exact thing, a massive competitive advantage. So I share that every show because if I could do anything, I'll just repeat that over and over because people will hear it and they still make the mistake of going to some average run-of-the-mill agent, and it costs them so much money, so much headache. And the thing is, like, even if it's a headache and they do half the job, you're still going to get stuck selling a property at a loss of what you could have got for it, or you're stuck buying the property at a property price much higher than you should have paid for it. Don't make the mistake first and then come to us. Reach out to us first. Call me. At least take a look at it and compare the two side by side. Give us a call anytime, 843-808-SOLD, or you go to blakesloan.com anytime. You can also go to blakesloan.com anytime and get an instant cash offer right online, hassle-free. It's like a thing that you just basically conversate back there with you, ask you a couple of questions right from your cell phone. One single simple box, pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month for that technology, but you get instant cash offer for your property. It's super simple. And you also, if you don't want to get a cash offer, we have just basically a free tool you can use. It gives you your own homeowner dashboard where you can basically just submit on there. You can go anytime to your real-time equity. It tracks basically what the mortgage is versus what the property is worth. It uses multiple different data sources so that you're able to make sure you can compare, okay, what's the different data sources saying right now so that we can get a true accurate number for our property. It shows you all the similar properties in the neighborhood, all the stuff that's sold, all the stuff that's active, all in one single dashboard that you can have your main property on, as well as multiple other properties. You can find that right at blakesloan.com anytime. Take a quick break, right back in a second.
Here to give us more insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. I know certain programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you offer? Hey, Sean, in addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a offer, and a guarantee program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars who are looking to buy homes in the Grand Strand right now. And what kind of return can you expect from them? Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that gets sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods. All right, great insight, and thank you for this update. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. Consider your home sold.
I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. We work with several options of hotels, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. So if that time crunch, you're going to read the seller by a certain date, after it all must be ready.
That's great. And if the seller has a bid for it,
Feed our food marketing plan and sell for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get her home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Radio Show. Market update, all kind of stuff happening right now. Like I said, it's spicy is the way I looked at it overall when I was going through everything. And we had some good news come in. We'll talk about two numbers. We have the brand new numbers off the press, so to speak, that just came off. It'll still update the next few days because it takes about the 5th to the 10th before a lot of agents put their sales in the MLS, which in that turn, it'll have more sales because they should have been put in prior. So long story short, we'll see the numbers improve a little bit. So we'll talk about those rearview mirror numbers, those ones that closed last month. And I'll tell you, the closing last month was much better than I thought it would be. I thought we'd see about a 20-30% decline in sales year over year, but actually only 11.3% decline. We'll talk about that here in a second. We'll talk about, too, the front windshield numbers I talk about every week. That's real pulse, like what's happening real time. I call that, like I said, the windshield numbers because it allows me to forecast what's going to happen going forward. And those other ones are the rear view mirror is like month versus month. So November versus November. So it does November 2022 versus November 2023. And you're able to look at that. But we had a really slow few weeks there. It was almost a dead stop. Interest rates at 8%. A lot of buyers would just pump the brakes like crazy. And you saw that headline. We'll talk about pending home sales, the lowest ever since they've been tracked in 2001, even lower than the financial crisis. That was nationwide. We started seeing that similar. And what's happening is we're maybe seeing that bounce back up. So, I'll go ahead and give you that. And here's the reason why. Look at the pending deals in our MLS the last 7 days. I track it every day in our office. It's very valuable because it just gives me a real-time pulse of what's happening. And we're able to compare that to the closed deals. But if you look at closed deals, it's always the month prior. So right now we're in December. Those closed months are for November. If it closed in November, it went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. So it really could have gone under contract, in September, October, and then close in November. And so it doesn't give you real-time pulse on what's happening. But looking at last week, the last 7 days, there was 323 properties that went under contract. If you compare just the last week's show, 7 days prior, there was 428. So that's a 24% drop in 1 week. And even part of the weekend, it bumped up towards the end, towards Friday. Look at Thursday, it was like 300 homes. And so it's a pretty significant drop there. Overall, the overall volume of properties that went under contract in the 7-day period is 133,651,000. That's a 15% drop versus the previous week. So last week's show was 158 million. This week's show 133 million. If you go back just 7 to 8 weeks ago, right here, it was at 537 for 190 million. If you go back to 9 weeks ago, 556 properties, 214 million. And so you can see that if you go back even a week before that, 590 properties for 220 million. So you can see a significant jump there, almost $100 million difference just in a matter of about 10 weeks. And that's as rates got super high. Right? They crept up and crept up and crept up, got up to 8% plus. And they've thankfully come back down the last couple of weeks. We had a 3-month low just on last Thursday, which is great news. We'll talk about where we're at today here in a second. So it's still pretty low, though, right? If you're only seeing 323 properties going to contract, it is a little bit seasonal, right? During the holidays, we do see the holiday season be a little bit slower in terms of traffic, but we do see a lot more serious buyers and a lot more serious sellers. And we also see a lot of people who have to close on something by the end of the year. And we see a lot, for some reason, we have a very high volume in December, a lot of high-end buyers who just make relocations before that time. They come in town and make those moves to lock something in before the end of the year. So we'll keep watching that, see what's going on overall. Just in the last 7 days, there are 15 properties over $1 million that went under contract. There were 67 properties over $500,000 that went under contract. And so that's pretty good overall. With that is a much better improvement high end over what we saw just last week. So, for example, this week, 15 properties over $1 million. Last week's show, only 6 properties over $1 million overall. So let's get to the big numbers. These are actually great news. I was shocked this morning. and looking at these two numbers and it can be skewed, and you always want to break that down because you want to understand, like, you take all price ranges, there's different nuances, right? So sometimes you have anything 200,000 or less can be different than the price range between 300 and 400, right? So this is all price ranges. There are single family homes that are resale properties. The reason we do that, it's just really kind of the center of the market, right? Resale is really kind of the most accurate data, because if you have new home sales, some of the big builders don't report all their sales. They don't put everything in MLS. So it's much easier to make sure we're much more accurate to make sure we're doing resale homes. So single family resale homes last month closed was only down 11.3% from the previous November. So if you go to November of this year, there was 337 properties. November last year, 2022, 380 properties. But if you go back to November 2021, there were 660. And so, again, there was a massive drop. November 2021, 660 properties that closed. November this past year was at 380. And then this past month, 337. And so that's just something to watch. We have seen, though, pretty much a significant decline all the way since June. June was 537. It dropped all the way down to 425 in July. Then it hit 486 in August, and this dropped every month since August. So there was 486 home sales in August. Then it went to 463 in September, 415 in October, 337 in November. And I do think we'll probably see that drop a little bit into December. But we're usually not that seasonal if you go back historically. Like if you go back to December 2020, 660 properties. November 2020, 611 properties. And so right now we're in the 300s, which does have really kind of a connection to what's happening interest rate wise as well. Now here's the key data though. Let's look at prices. Median price is up 6.5%. That's very, very good news, especially seeing a lot of active listings have been sitting there just in the entire market. If anybody's been watching and searching properties online, you notice there's a lot more price reductions than ever. And I think some of that's just some of the home sellers coming to reality, like, hey, look, we're not going to get the same prices we get in 2022. We can't get the same prices you get in first quarter 2022. And you're finally seeing that correct a little bit overall. So right now, the median price is at 6.5% increase at 385,000 even. Here's the shocking number. The most shocking one is average sale price up 18.2% at 525,788. And so that's very, very interesting overall, kind of looking at that. But we've seen a lot of that being driven by the high-end properties. So if you take in anything over 329,000, which is the highest bracket it has here in reporting, those sales are up 17. The price on those up 17% just in the last month versus November. So that's kind of what's driving it overall. Supply is still very, very low right now. It's only 3.3 months of supply. Like I mentioned, anything less than 6 months is a seller's market. So you're still in a super seller's market, meaning that as a home seller, you have an advantage. And so that's what's protecting price right now, is that even though demand is way down, like 50%, there's just a lot less listings and people aren't selling because they're locked in at low interest rates, which is helping protect price overall. Why is that? Because it's always supply and demand driven, right? So we know if supply increases, demand goes down, price is always that lagging indicator. But thankfully here, low inventory is really keeping that price from going down significantly. Same thing that we're still seeing. Showings per listing has gone down. So right now, the average listing in the entire MLS is getting 3.7 showings per listing. That's down from October when it was 4 listings, down from September when it was 4 showings, down from September, which is 4.1, in August is 4.8. And so you can see every month it's gone down really since March. So March was getting 5.5, and it's all the way down every single month right now at 3.7. The problem, though, which most people are running into, is it's taking overall average amount of showings. It's taking 14.1 showings per listing to get an offer. And so the average amount of showings it takes for a listing to get an offer on it is 14 showings. So if you're averaging 3.7, you can see the problem. There's a lot of properties sitting there that just aren't getting offers because they're not getting enough traffic. And so what I do, what makes us different, is that I'm basically a marketer in the real estate business. The only thing I can do is get eyeballs to your property. And if I get more eyeballs to your property, there's more people going to click that button that says, hey, I want to take a look at it. If they take a look at it, they come in your front door, they like it, and then that's how they pull the trigger and write the offer. But that's really what a real estate agent does, is their job is to get traffic to your property, get traffic to the online listing, get traffic inside your door, obviously through qualified buyers, and that's how you get your property sold faster. And that's what makes us able to sell properties faster and for more money. And that's why it matters why we have tens and tens of thousands of buyers, why we're able to spend massive amounts of money online driving traffic, because it really kind of helps get more eyeballs on your property, and that's really what makes it different. In the condo sales down 18.8%, with 328 condos closed last month. Overall median price down 1.3% at $231,000. Average sale price is pretty much flat. It's down 0.8% at $264,740. So if you go back to November last year, it was $266,741. It's only a $2,000 difference there. That's good. Overall, it's still holding tight because a lot of times, same thing there, inventory is still pretty low, 4.1 months inventory. That's good news overall with that. You're seeing the same challenge with showings. The average condo right now in the entire MLS is only getting 2.5 showings per listing. And so this is something we sit down with clients, we show them face to face. Obviously, it's a lot for the radio, but it's very, very valuable to show the clients face to face, because if you look at how many average showings it takes to get a contract, it takes 10.7. And so as a business person, I'm a big numbers nerd. And so if you look at the numbers and say, hey, it takes 10 showings on average to get a contract, we're only at 2. We got to get the attraction up here, right? We got to get the traffic up here. And so that's just something to keep watching there as well. We'll keep you updating kind of what's happening, but it's good news. Seeing prices not decline much. I did think we'd probably see a significant decline in price coming up here soon, because you're just seeing a lot more properties in the market. You're seeing a lot more price reductions with active properties. You can see that across the entire MLS. And so I do think we're probably going to see prices soften a little bit. They're softening some other areas outside of here, but low inventory has really been protecting that, which has been great news. And obviously we had some great news this past week with interest rates. 3-month low, which was awesome. Previously, we were at highest levels since 2001. Last week's show was 7.33%. Week before that, 7.55%. And this week, a 30-year fixed mortgage, 7.15%, which is awesome to see that there. Overall, right now, a 15-year fixed rate, 6.51%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.6%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage, 6.7%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.52%, and a 30-year VA loan, still very, very low in the mid-6s at 6.53%. So that's like a blessing. I told my team that's like a blessing we're having this holiday season. Like the interest rate gods and God itself has just like helped us out here in a way, because rates above 8, the marketplace was gridlocked. It was just like dead stopped. You can see pending deals slowed off a cliff. Now rates have come back down. Buyers jump back in like crazy. So if you're thinking about selling, you may want to take advantage, do it earlier than later. Waiting to the first of the year, there's a big problem with that, because all your neighbors wait to the first year. And so you're seeing this extra little boost of adrenaline to the marketplace. Maybe you get time to tee that up if it's investment property, rental property, primary residence, whatever it may be. If you had it off the market, thinking about putting back on the market, it may be a good idea to do it sooner rather than later, because rates did come back down a little bit. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Take a quick break. Right back in a sec with our new Hot Bars alert.
WRNN listeners, Blake Brown here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for us. Totally true, Clay. Here in Myrtle Beach, the agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about
Honestly, I'm going to have about a minute and a half.
Guaranteed
Okay, I figured that. Cool.
price and deadline you agreed to, or he'll buy himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about being stuck.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing that Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot Buyers Alert. Only a couple minutes left here. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach area, from $250,000 to $4.4 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately, 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. One thing we do every single week is that we put our money where our mouth is, share our active amount of home buyers. Right now, active home buyers, 74,376 active home buyers on my website that we paid for through marketing. We spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars in marketing every month, driving traffic. We have buyers from all across the globe, especially the Northeast, where a lot of people are selling higher end properties there, lower cost living down here. They come by, and so we're dialed into that. If you're thinking about selling, we have buyers we can match up immediately with our sales team, with our sales system. We make 16,000 phone calls a week to those buyers and match them up with our listings. And that's how we sell properties, because we're just more aggressive, right? That's kind of what we do. Really quick success story. And actually, we're frustrated. That's what I was talking about earlier. They basically moved out of their house, moved into an RV. We're building a new property. They got listed with an average agent, 6 months, no showings. Sorry, very few showings, no offers. very frustrated. They almost gave up on building their house, heard about us on the radio, called us. We identified the problem, marketing, came in, designed a custom plan, global marketing blitz, launched it, professional photos, the drone, had it under contract in 2 weeks for pretty much the same price they had it for. Now they put maximum equity in their pocket just because they reached out and called us. Call me next time, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. Sorry, I thought I was way over there. Maybe not.